From beautiful downtown Millheim, in the smack dab center of the Keystone State, this is Lou Bryson with Seen Through a Glass, a podcast that's mostly about food and drink in central Pennsylvania. Yes, you're right, my voice is a bit rough. I went to a great show at the State Theater last Thursday, Marty Stewart and his fabulous superlatives, and they were great, had me up and hollering. And then we went to a party here in the Valley Saturday night, and we sang and maybe howled at the moon a bit. And on top of that, it's the beginning of allergy season for me. But rather than put it off as I did over the winter, I decided to press on. You're going to get what I've got. So cheers, and welcome to episode 54, Why My Water Tastes So Good. Kathy and I have done some traveling over the past year, and as we did, we both realized something. Our Millheim tap water tastes pretty darn good. We noticed it when we would run out of water we brought with us and have to start drinking other tap water or even bottled water. And it's not that we've just gotten used to the Millheim water. Folks who visit also mention it. So I looked into it. Millheim has a very high-end water treatment plant using membrane technology. It's solar-powered, too. Membrane technology is relatively high maintenance, and it's not cheap. We actually pay more for water here than we did in the Philly suburbs. So why does a little town like Millheim have such a great water treatment plant? It's an obvious but possibly surprising answer. Trout. Elk Creek flows through town and empties into Pine Creek just down the road, which then almost immediately joins Penns Creek. And Penns Creek, as our guest today will tell you, is one of the very best trout streams in the eastern United States. Not just around here or in Pennsylvania, people literally travel to Penns Creek from other countries to fish. And that will explode as the green drake hatch hits at the end of May, an annual hatch of this large variety of mayfly. How big a deal is that? I'm quoting the Fly Crate, a fly fishing website about the green drake. For many anglers, fishing a green drake hatch is the highlight of their angling season. And when you ask the Fly Crate where to find this hatch, well, they talk about abundant and ample hatches on lists of rivers and streams in the Rockies and in the Appalachians. But there's only one stream in the entire country that's singled out for comment. Penns Creek in central Pennsylvania has an epic green drake hatch. All that means tourism business for the area. I interviewed 3 fishing guides for this episode. They make part of their living from fishing, and 2 of them work out of the Feathered Hook in Coburn, a year-round fishing tackle store. Mr. L.J. Downs in Coburn makes bamboo fly rods that sell for $2,000 apiece, and he graciously donates one every year to the Penns Valley Conservation Association for their annual fly rod raffle. Tickets are $50 apiece. I buy one every year, and you can too at pennsvalley.net. And then there are knock-on effects, as the Brits say, more indirect benefits. We were at Elk Creek Cafe last week for the regular Wednesday night trivia, and some obvious anglers came in for dinner. I saw anglers at the meat market, and they stay at local B&Bs. They stop at the gas station. They spend money at the hardware store, the supermarket, the shops in town. All of that means that the town is very much aware of the economic benefits that trout season brings to the area. And that's not counting the social benefits. People here love to fish, and they are right out there with the visitors when the season opens. I've told you, seriously, that Kathy and I moved here at least partially because we liked Elk Creek Cafe so much. But there are a lot of people who live in Penns Valley who moved to Penns Valley specifically because of the trout fishing. It's a big part of their year, and I'll tell you about 2 opening day parties I went to. That's why the water tastes so good. The town recognizes the multifold benefits of trout fishing, and the best way to preserve that is to make sure that the water coming back out of the town is at least as good as the water coming in. Simply put, our water tastes so good because it's good for the trout. What else is in this episode? Well, not a lot, honestly. The interviews went a bit long. But I do want to tell you again about that little contest I've got going. It's fun, it's easy, and you'll maybe get your name read on a future episode. Wow, kids. So let's get to it. After all that, you might think that tap water is what I'm drinking. No, you're not thinking that, are you? What I'm drinking today is, well, it's kind of embarrassing. I think I told you that we moved almost all of my whiskey out of the house during remodeling over to my friend Dave's nice dry basement. Well, we started bringing it back this past week, and as we did, I've been doing inventory, preparatory to putting it in the new storage area we built behind the bar. Imagine my surprise when I opened what I thought was a box full of 50 milliliter sample bottles to find that it was an unopened package containing a whiskey sample that had been sent to me back in late 2021 when we were moving out of our house in Bucks County. Must have got lost in the shuffle. It was a pleasant surprise, though. A full bottle of Paul John Indian Single Malt, the 2021 Christmas edition. This whiskey is made from 6-row barley, grown in northern India in Rajasthan, the largest state in India. It is distilled at the John Distillery's malt plant in Goa, the smallest state in India on the southwest coast. The Christmas edition was aged in a blend of bourbon, port, and Madeira casks. Honestly, you probably can't get this whiskey anymore. It's almost certainly all been sold. But Paul John whiskey is definitely still around. So let's see how they did with this one. If you're unfamiliar with Indian malts, or dismissive of them, God help you, you're in for a treat, albeit vicariously. Indian whiskeys, like other whiskeys made in tropical areas, like the Kavalan whiskeys from Taiwan, are aged much shorter than Scotch. It's because of the heat. The climate where they are is so tough on aging whiskey that a lot of these whiskeys are done in 3 years. They're ready to go. A 5 or 6 year old might be a really old one. The heat drives the whiskey deep into the wood. There's a high level of evaporation. The angels share. They're very greedy angels in the tropics, apparently. So things are done differently. I believe I read that the Paul John distillery actually built an underground cave, dug an aging area so things would be a little bit cooler. But even so, these are quick aging whiskeys, and they had to adjust the wood program to do that. So let's see how it did. Wow, that is a rich aroma. There is a little bit of cinnamon. There's a lot of sweet, rich pastry. I mean, I hate to say Christmas cake, but it does kind of scream to mind. Oh my, rich fruit, red fruit, ripe plum, berries. This is not just a rich nose, it's an active nose. It's really pushing at me. You can smell the influence of the Madeira cask, particularly. There's that overripe fruit, almost raisiny. Wow, a lot of fruit candy. I can't wait. I got to sip. This is at 46 proof, so I'm at 46%, 92 proof. So I'm not using any water at this point. That is a rich mouthfeel. Not heavy, but slightly viscous. You get a bit of an oily spread on the tongue. The legs on the side of the glass are incredible. Warm, oak influence the whole way through, but not woody. There's a lot of structure there. And by that, I mean the sweetness is held in place by the drier spiciness of the oak. Everything is kind of pieced together. Honestly, not so much. I know I love a well-integrated whiskey. This one is not so much integrated as like purpose-built. It's as if this whiskey were constructed, almost like they took the 3 different casks and, I don't know, hammered them together. There's a hint of aged tobacco, like a really good unlit cigar or some pipe tobacco in a canister. The fruit's still there. Plenty of straight up malt sweetness, but not young. I mean, this is a young whiskey by Scottish standards, but coming out and it doesn't actually say how old it is, but I've got to guess it's under 5 years old. It's fully matured. There's a lot going on here. This is a huge, delicious whiskey, as pretty much every Paul John whiskey I've had is. It is a a house character of lusciousness, if you will. Get out and find some Indian whiskey. If you've never had any, they're really very good. Very good. I can definitely recommend them. So that's what I'm drinking today. And my apologies to Paul John and to the Sazerac Company, who owned 51% of Paul John and actually sent me this sample. I'm really glad it didn't stay mislaid. And now it's time for Smack Dab in the Center, sponsored by the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau. I know what you're thinking. Here it is, an episode on trout fishing, and I've already told you about where the best trout fishing is in Happy Valley. So what now, Mr. Subject Matter? Well, my friends, great fishing is only part of an angler's enjoyment in Center County. You know, you can fish from dawn to dusk, but at some point you've got to come off the water. And that's what I want to tell you about today. Happy Valley Fishing Lodges. You've heard me talk about the Black Moshannon State Park and its extensive wild acreage. You can stay at the Black Moshannon Lodge just outside the park entrance and fish for bass and northern pike in the Black Moshannon Lake, or fish for trout in the Black Moe itself. If you want to fish Penns Creek, and believe me, after this episode, you will, you can stay at two places here in the valley. There's Piece of Paradise with 2 lodges on Pine Creek. You can easily get to Penns Creek from there, but Pine Creek has good wild trout fishing itself, and there's a hot tub for relaxing after a day of waiting. Or stay at the Ingleby Lodge, back in the woods near the Penns Creek Wild area, a 3-story hand-hewn log vacation home surrounded by forested quiet. You can fish their private access to Pine and Elk Creeks, or simply sit in the serenity and silence. Finally, down by Spruce Creek, there's the Homewaters Club. Tucked into the junction of Spruce Creek and the Little Juniata River, Homewaters is a private fishing club that offers non-members lodging and access to their extensive private fishing areas on Spruce Creek and the Little J, Penns Creek, and the secluded waters of Yellow Creek in Bedford County. You'll find all of this and more on the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau website, happyvalley.com, under the Stay tab, and then click through to vacation rentals. Remember, it's better when you stay here. Now, I know I've been talking a lot about fish lately. There was the 5-pound box of frozen haddock in episode 48, and the Central PA Alaskan salmon industry in episode 52. But this is important stuff. Trout fishing really is a big deal in Central PA, and here in Penns Valley in particular. How big a deal? The Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission has some numbers. The Commonwealth has almost 16,000 miles of wild trout streams and another 5,000 miles of stocked streams, as well as over 125 stocked lakes. You want a really big number? Fish and Boat stocks those streams and lakes with 3.2 million trout each year, plus another 1.2 million added by private fish nurseries. Of the state-stocked fish, over 2 million are rainbow trout, with about 700,000 brown trout, 14,000 golden rainbow or palomino trout, and 130,000 of Pennsylvania's state fish, the native brook trout. About 72,000 in total will be trophy-sized fish, between 14 and 20 inches long. Now that's fish. How about anglers? The commission estimates that there are about 825,000 licensed anglers in Pennsylvania this year. The licenses and the accompanying trout permits pay for the entire budget of the commission, including the stocking effort. And the commission considers these anglers their partners. I happened to meet the director of their Bureau of Hatcheries, Brian Nowinski, at the Meandering Mallard coffee shop here in town. He was thankful for Pennsylvania anglers. He said, "We always say that anglers are some of our best and most thoughtful conservationists. We can't be everywhere, but our anglers let us know what's going on out there and often give us great input on angler access opportunities, potential habitat improvement projects, stocking locations. They even give us a heads up when people aren't following the laws and regulations. They are our eyes and ears." Now, some of those anglers fish within a few miles of home, some day trip to streams and lakes, and some will go to fishing camps for several days at a time. But all of them will be out there with rod and reel, partaking in a pastime that is ancient indeed. Fish hooks are mentioned in the Old Testament, and if you've watched Disney's Moana, you know that the Polynesian hero Maui had a magical fish hook. And he did, too. That's not just Disney storytelling. Fish hooks made of shell were found in Okinawa that date to over 22,000 years ago. Now, when you're subsistence fishing, baited hooks and nets are maybe more sure things. But our guests will tell you that fly fishing is the way to go for sport, and that has a distinguished history as well. Fly fishing was first described in 200 AD by the Roman writer Claudius Aelianus. The most famous book about fly fishing, though, is The Complete Angler by Isaac Walton. First published in 1653, The Complete Angler has been in print continuously since 1750, outsold in English only by the Bible, Shakespeare, and The Pilgrim's Progress. Appropriately for our story, it's not just about fishing, which it does get into in great detail, but it's one of the first books about conservation of wild streams and woodlands. Isaac Walton and his tales of Piscator and Viator have had enormous effects down the centuries, more than he could have ever possibly foreseen. This all comes together in trout fishing in North America. Trout are predictable, but tricky, and must be wooed and pursued. They are also demanding of their habitat, needing clean water in a relatively narrow temperature range. As goes the health of Pennsylvania streams, so goes that of the native brookies and the introduced species like rainbow and brown trout, brought here by anglers who continue to sustain them in self-interest, for the sport and for the simple pleasure, as guide Tom Doman will tell you, of just being in the water. And yet, I've got to be honest, I don't fish. Haven't since I was a teenager. I've got nothing against it, it's just not my thing. But people have been crazy about fishing for centuries. They've written books about it, made movies, sung songs, and declared poems. The actor Michael Keaton bought a ranch in Montana just so he could go fishing anytime he wanted. Clearly, it gets a grip on people. And I wanted to find out, what is it about fishing that folks think is so awesome? So on the night before opening day, I went down to the Feathered Hook in Coburn and set up the mics right in the shop to talk to two young local trout guides, Logan Stroop and Blaine Irwin. It was educational. Hey, I'm here with Logan Stroop and Blaine Ripke. They are fishing guides at the Feathered Hook in beautiful Coburn, Pennsylvania. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
All right. Could you just say your name? Because when we get two people on the line.
Yes, sir. My name is Logan Stroop.
Okay.
And I am Blaine Ripke.
All right. And you guys are both from here? Around here? I think you said you were from Rebersburg?
Yeah, I'm originally from Rebersburg. I've been in Penns Valley my entire life.
Same here. I grew up in Millheim.
Okay.
Elk Creek was in my parents' backyard as a kid, so I basically spent my life in the stream.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I've known this guy for a while.
We went to school together, graduated together.
Okay.
We know each other for a long, long time.
My first question, what is it that you love so much about fishing that you're making it your life here? What is it about fishing? What's wonderful about fishing?
So they say to do something you love is your job. Well, some people say that, or they tell you to do the opposite. What I will say about it is, for me, it's the one thing there's two things I do that everything else in the world just goes away. I have no thoughts about my job, paying the bills, whatever it is. Any stress you have, when I'm fishing, it's gone. That's just what it is.
That's
and
good.
the other thing, I said there's two things. The other thing is hunting. I'm big into hunting. Since I made fishing my job, I spend most of my free time hunting now.
Smart.
Yep.
Smart.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Logan on that one, where it's very much something that I just love to do. And then I really discovered how much I love teaching this to people. Like watching somebody catch their first wild brown trout, which is mostly what we're doing around here, is pretty cool. I mean, it's really hard to explain.
Yeah, most people
I get it.
Yeah, most people have no idea there's so many people who live around here have no idea what is available to us right here.
Oh, yeah.
The streams, the fish, the quantity and quality of the fish.
I mean, you're in the heart of the East Coast fly fishing. That
was one of the things I wanted to ask. I mean, I hear about three streams in central Pennsylvania: Penns Creek, Spring Creek, and the Yellow Breeches down near Carlisle, down in Cumberland County. These are bona fide excellent fly fishing streams?
I don't know that I would say the Yellow Breeches is.
Okay.
There's people that are going to get mad that I said that.
Well, that's kind of funny because that's the one I hear more about.
Yep.
Is that because they just get more press?
I would say it's more popular because it's near a populated area.
Okay.
And it's more or less one of the only streams they got in town, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I fished it. I don't think it compares to these streams here, and I think most people that have fished here and there would probably agree with that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. The other one to throw in there is definitely the Little J, though.
Little J and Fishing Creek, even.
Yeah.
Which is where?
Little J's out between Huntington and Tyrone.
Okay.
Would be I think it's Class A wild trout.
Yeah, it is.
And then Big Fishing Creek would be between Tylersville and
Like Lamar.
Yeah, Lamar area would be our
Yeah.
where we're targeting both of those.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's a lot of them around, and then all these little blue line streams have a ton of little wild brook trouts in them, and there's a ton of them around here.
Literally, you find a trickle of water up in the mountains. It's got fish in it.
Fish in it.
Okay. And I mean, like top in Pennsylvania, reaching into top in the eastern U.S.
Top streams?
Yeah.
Penn's has to
Yeah, I would
be,
say I would say Penn's Creek is, in my opinion, some of the best in the country. Even I mean, people come from all over the world to fish here.
Okay.
Definitely the East Coast. I would say Penn's is in the top. I mean, definitely in the top 10. I would say.
Okay.
And then
sure.
Spring Creek's gonna get that recognition as well.
Yes.
It definitely has the fish density.
Okay. It's just not known.
Spring Creek is very well known. It's
That's what I'm
right.
Yeah,
It's in State College.
Yeah.
Right? State College, Bellefonte. It gets a lot of pressure because it's closer to the city. It's their closest
More
good
people.
trout stream. Yep. There's more people. There's people everywhere though. It's not really that. It's just it's not as scenic, not as pretty, not as good of a quality of fish in Spring Creek generally. Not to say that there's not,
No.
but
Overall, yeah.
Spring Creek has a lot more fish and it's a smaller stream, so therefore you get more
Density
small
of fish.
fish.
Gotcha. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep. Competition.
Yeah, I completely forgot to mention, and I absolutely should have. We're sitting here in Coburn, not quite a stone's throw from Penns Creek, and
Depends who you are.
it's it's the night before opening day.
Correct.
Yeah, as I should have mentioned that because there's, there's not electricity in the air, but you can definitely look around and see things going on.
Oh yeah.
What makes a top-notch fly stream? Is it just density of fish, or there's got to be more to it than that?
Bugs.
The hatch.
Yep.
You gotta have the fish. You gotta have good, clean water. And you've got to have bugs.
Okay.
So that's where Penns Creek kind of almost stands alone, is the amount of mayfly life and caddis life that it has.
Okay.
I mean, it hasn't had any major chemical spills in it, like Spring Creek, for example.
Oh, really?
So we haven't lost any of those bugs that have been here the entire time Penns has been here.
Correct. Yeah, Penns Creek has we call them super hatches.
Oh.
Where there's a few hatches, like the Granum, the Green Drake, the Sulphurs. The hatches are just like bar none. There's nothing that even around here. I've not seen anything that comes close. Spring Creek gets a good. I didn't see it last year, but they do get a good sulfur hatch. But I would say, yeah, in general, Penns Creek gets more what I would call super hatches than anything else around here.
And what, that just drives the fish crazy?
Yes.
I mean, it literally will look like somebody's upstream at a bridge dumping bags of sawdust in the stream. That's how many bugs are floating down. It actually can make the fishing hard.
I will have to show you I have a photo on a video on my phone last year during the Green Drake hatch. There were so many bugs in the water, you couldn't see water through them.
Yes.
Wow.
Like a blanket
And
of
that's
bugs.
not
That's not ideal
uncommon
fishing,
if you find like the densest part of the hatch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's hard to get their attention at that point?
It can be because there's so
can
many
be.
real bugs. Why would they eat your fake one?
Yeah.
There's ways around that. Don't get me wrong. You can use a bigger bug, something that looks slightly different to make to make them pick yours over the other ones that are there.
Okay.
But no, it's more something to see. It's like National Geographic type stuff.
Yeah.
Not always the best fishing during those hatches, but it's definitely something to see. Even people who don't fish would appreciate it if they saw it.
It's an experience.
Yeah.
And that's what I think makes Penns stand out from some of these others is like the Little J gets some really heavy hatches, but what can happen on a Penns Creek evening can be pretty memorable.
Huh.
So
While we're talking, I'm going to pull up this just so I want to see your reaction to it.
Fair enough. You guys are guides. You're fishing guides. What do you do?
So the way the day look can be a little different depending on what the client wants out of it. We do a lot of teaching, whether it's for beginner, intermediate, and advanced anglers. The other thing that we do is if you're new to the area, getting a guide can really give you a big shortcut into how do I catch fish in central PA.
Okay.
we're on the water every day. We know like I guided today, where the fish were laying has been changing as we've been warming up. So that was something that my clients necessarily didn't know, but we've been on the water every day.
And when we say laying, like hanging out?
Yeah, they move around from deeper to shallow water and stuff like that. So like that kind of knowledge is also what you're paying for, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. I pretty much agree with everything you just said. It could be anything from, we could be teaching someone how to cast, how to even hold the rod.
Right.
Like we have complete beginners to guys who come here who are some of the best fishermen you'll ever meet and just want someone to show them where to go, basically. So literally everything from brand new to expert, we take out, teach them what we can, and maybe even learn something from them sometimes. So
okay.
I got to say, I do learn a lot, even from like beginner and intermediate clients, where they either look at something in a way where you go,
new perspective.
You go, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I do have this video pulled up.
Sure, let's have a look.
Then.
Oh my God. It's an overused term. That's biblical.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then
Oh man.
This is a video of them actually just flying around. This is them landing on my arm.
Wow. This is like a cicada hatch.
This is the green drake. Yeah.
Okay.
This is our famous hatch.
Wow. Wow, they're bigger than I realized.
Yeah, they're giant.
Yeah.
That's the other thing about Penns Creek that makes it stand out from the other streams. Generally speaking, the bugs on Penns Creek are bigger. So there's other streams that get to green drake, that get to sulfur, but here the bug itself is typically larger than the other streams.
That's actual size there.
Okay, so we're looking at a
female green drake.
Wow. That's pretty good size.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun to fish too. That's why it's so popular. That's one of the only places you can come on the East Coast and get bugs that size, and have fish come to the surface and eat them. It's like that's the best. That's the most fun way to catch a trout, in my opinion, on the surface with a dry fly.
Well, let me ask you about that. We talk so much about, and I haven't fished, but I'm just here, and everyone around the area talks about fishing. Everyone's always talking about fly fishing. You don't have to fly fish. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, it's 100% to each their own. I did not grow up fly fishing. Nobody in my family really did it. I grew up throwing with a conventional rod, using spinners, panther martins, and rooster tails, and little jerk baits and worms. That's how I grew up. Somewhere along the way, actually, what happened was my older brother, he's 2 years older than me. We're very competitive with each other growing up. Naturally, we're brothers.
Sure.
He got a fly rod. He was probably 14, and I was about 12, somewhere in there. And since he bought one, I naturally, I got to have one too. So that's what I did. I saved up my pennies and I got something cheap from Walmart, and I learned with that. And ever since then, it's not that I have anything against a regular rod, regular reel, but to me, on the fly is just more fun. It's more natural, and I think once you get good at it, it is, generally speaking, just downright more effective.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
That is how I made the switch. I started as a conventional tackle guy and was catching fish. But my dad was a fly fisherman, and I was like, why would I do that? I'm catching fish. And then these spinner falls that we're talking about, when the mayflies come back, started happening, and I was not able to catch fish. So I kind of started to convert over, and I do agree with Logan. Once you kind of master this, no one's a master at this. Once you start getting good at this, you can catch a lot of fish.
Correct. And it makes sense too. To me, it simply made sense. The fish eat the bugs that are in the stream. They're not eating, not generally speaking, they're not eating night crawlers
corn.
and corn, power bait. That's just not what they're used to eating.
Yeah.
Now obviously there's wild fish and there's stocked fish. There's parts of the creeks that are stocked. And the stocked fish will eat almost anything you throw at them.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. Are these stocked streams?
So Penns Creek, part of Penns Creek is stocked, a very small portion of it. So Elk Creek dumps in right 300 yards from where we're sitting right here. From Elk Creek down for quite a ways is unstocked, so it's all wild fish. Don't get me wrong, you get a stocky that swims downstream every once in a while.
Okay.
But from Elk Creek upstream to basically in-town Spring Mills is stocked. It is Class A wild trout, so what that means is there's wild fish in there still, and they put fish on top of them, which is a whole other controversial topic, depending who you ask. But,
Yeah, we're going to avoid that one on this.
Okay.
yeah. Some people are for it, some people are not, put it that way. The stocked fish, they're just not as... They're way easier to catch. They're not as...
I would think they're not smart, right?
Yeah, one of the biologists actually told me one day in here that works for the state, he said that 10% of the stocked fish die every week since they put them in.
Oh, my God. They just don't get it.
Yeah, they just can't. They're not as. Don't get me wrong. There's some that hold over. Not all of them die. We catch rainbows in the middle of winter, and they don't stock around then. So.
And is that what they're stocking?
Yeah, they only stock rainbows in Penns Creek, and it's different in every stream. I couldn't tell you what they put in. Every stream is different. You can get on their website, and they'll tell you what they're putting in and when.
Yeah. Okay.
But the wild fish.
That's generally what we're after.
That's what we're primarily after. Now, don't get me wrong. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
You're going for fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going for the tradition.
Correct.
I know we both are.
Yeah.
Yep. I've been, like I said, I grew up fishing with my grandfather and my dad since literally before I can remember. And it was opening day fishing in the stocked water.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, where I grew up, there was always pictures in the paper, and they were, just down the road from me, just lined along the stream. Yeah.
So for me, it's more about the tradition tomorrow. I just go because I've done it my whole time. It'd be weird not to almost. I've never missed an opening day, and I'm not going to tomorrow.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
And we say trout season. What trout are in Pennsylvania streams?
Okay, so we got we're going to go the big three.
Okay.
We got browns, we got rainbows, and we got brookies. And that's probably in the order that we're catching them around here.
Okay.
Yep.
The fourth one that I was thinking about throwing in there is the palomino or golden trout that the state stocks.
Rainbow.
Yeah, golden rainbow, I think is the current term.
Correct.
They changed it. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for what the science part of it
Fair
was,
enough.
but it is, I think, a different fish. It's
I
on the
believe so.
poster out here as a different fish. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. They're not really what we're. Generally speaking, we target the wild fish. We're not. I don't want to call us purists, but we like the wild fish for sure. They're just more. They're more pretty. They're a little more elusive. You find the wild fish generally in prettier places also, which is what I like about them.
Oh, well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about that part.
That's another reason I think Penns Creek's so popular. This area in general, like you can hike in a mile or two in Penns Creek and be literally you see nothing but mountains, nothing but trees, no house, no camp, no nothing in sight.
Yeah,
you can't do that on many of the other streams around here.
Yeah, I remember when we first moved here, we went up there on the Vista.
Yep.
Looking over the tunnel, and I was up there with somebody who's lived here all their life, and I remember him pointing to the right. He's like, "That way, nothing."
Yep, correct.
Pretty cool.
And that's the direction Penns flows.
Yeah.
I mean, it's around nothing. And it's a walk-in stream for the most part.
Yep.
I mean, you parking at, there's about 4 access points. We won't name them. So you got 4 access points and you're walking. I mean, you're hiking in. I think we did like 1.5 miles today pretty easily. And it's just you. You're going to run into other fishermen during fishing season, but it's just you and them.
Yeah.
All bets are off tomorrow. Tomorrow there will be people everywhere.
shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah. We're talking about going into fishing season, but I will say it's not for us. There's not really a fishing season because we fish all of the time.
Okay.
They really only close the stock stretches of the streams. So like Penns Creek, we fish from Elk Creek down for the most part. You can fish year round.
Oh.
And it's good fishing. It's not stock, so the state doesn't really regulate when you can and can't because they're not worried about.
So what's the season then?
Here?
Yeah, I mean, if it's opening day, what?
So tomorrow is tomorrow.
Sorry, I'm confused.
They call it. Yeah, they call it opening day because that's when you can fish the stocked water.
Oh, and they delineate where that stocked water is.
Correct. And what I will say is, I don't know how to say this without offending people because I don't mean it that way.
That's okay. Let her rip.
Generally speaking, the population of people that fish opening day or opening weekend are not the same people that are fishing year round.
Sure.
So it draws a huge crowd just for opening weekend to catch the stocked fish. And those people, nothing against them, that's just not typically what we're doing.
I mean, a lot of times, and I got to say this because I've seen this in other, not even other sports, but in other things. Sometimes it's the only time they can get away.
Yeah, that's true. That's true also.
Yeah. So,
And like I said, I am not above it. I'll be out there tomorrow doing the same thing. I'm going to be
We're
one of
both
them.
going to be out there. I'm ashamed to admit it.
Correct.
And the part of it is like you almost know where people are going to be.
Yep.
Even though you don't necessarily always see these people fishing year round, which we would all like to. Mm-hmm. No one's against more fishermen.
Sure.
Especially Logan and I. I mean, that is how we make our money.
That's right.
But
that's right.
We got, like, I know where Logan's going tomorrow. Logan knows where I'm going tomorrow.
Correct. It's more about tradition than it is anything.
Correct.
And it's the same families. Like, I can
Really?
tell you at what spot where each family's going to be up the creek road from growing up here.
And,
that's cool.
and it's just what happens.
Yeah.
Like, if I went and did the drive tomorrow afternoon and people aren't where they are, I'm going to be like, oh, that kind
something's
of
not right.
Yeah.
Something ain't right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dang. Women fishing? Does a lot of it happen? Or
A
not
fair
so
amount,
many?
more than
It's
people
growing.
think.
Yeah,
we
it's
actually have a
growing.
female guide here. Her name's Tess.
Oh, nice.
Yep, she's very, very good.
Okay.
Yeah, Tess competes on the women's team,
Yep.
so that's pretty cool.
My wife will fish. She's not real serious about it, but she's going out tomorrow.
She's going out.
Yep, she's good. She catches fish every time. She'll outfish most men that we take out.
All right. All right. When you catch the fish, what do you do with them? How do you eat them? Do you eat them?
No, so generally speaking, we
Really?
we don't. We actually we're catch and release like 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
For trout anyway.
Yeah.
Most of
It's-
that's regulation based
Yeah,
about
a lot-
where we are.
Yeah, a lot of it's
So that's
a lot
part of it.
Yeah, a lot of the creek that we fish, you can't keep fish.
It's got to be catch and release.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
And on top of that, even when I'm fishing in the part of the streams where it is not catch and release, I still choose to catch and release.
Okay.
It's just, one, I don't think they're very good, and two, it's very hard to justify taking fish when they're the way that we make our living. And I'd also, you start taking the fish out, you put a herd in the stream pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I'd rather a kid come back after I'm done and maybe
Catch that
catch the big
fish.
fish I just caught.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. I mean, for me, I'm not a fan of them. They're a lot of work to cook a trout. Like I've done it, and it's a lot of work. The other thing is that it's catch and release is what I like to do. I am a numbers guy.
Okay.
Like, the size
here.
of fish doesn't necessarily get me all fired up. I'm not going for big fish.
It's a notch.
I want to see how many I can
Yeah.
catch,
Yep.
and it's a bad idea to start keeping the fish for me. Now, keep all the rainbows you want, in my opinion.
Yep, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, keep
Clean
them
'em
all.
out.
Clean them out.
Guys, that's all I got. Good luck tomorrow.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And thanks for taking the time. This was fun. Appreciate
Absolutely.
Yeah, this was
Same
a lot
to
of
you.
fun.
All
Thank
right.
Same to you.
it. Good. That was good. But friends told me I should get another perspective. And let me tell you, once I mentioned that I was interested in doing a fishing episode, Penns Valley people came out of the woodwork to offer advice and assistance. Again, fishing is a big deal here. So I was introduced to Tom Doman, a guy who's been fishing Penns Creek for over 40 years. Tom fishes from Nova Scotia to Alaska. I actually had to wait to interview him until he got back from a fishing trip to Michigan. He was fishing for steelhead. The day after he got back, I got a text from him at 6:30 in the morning. Let's talk fishing. We sat down in the back room of the Meandering Mallard to talk. It seemed at one point that half of Millheim was in there with us, and you'll hear them. But the sound quality came out surprisingly well. Maybe I'm getting better at this. Hey, I'm at the Meandering Mallard coffee shop in Millheim with Tom Doman, Penns Creek Guides. You're a local fishing guide, a certified fishing guide. Is that a Pennsylvania certification?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a licensure required by the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission.
Okay. Tell me why you love fishing so much that you take other people out and show them how to do it. What is that? Is that part of the fun?
It is. I've been fishing these waters since the mid-'70s.
Okay.
I used to drive up here from Pittsburgh when I was in graduate school. And when I finally left Pittsburgh in 1970, I got here in 79.
Okay.
Okay. The back and forth trips made me realize, well, why the hell don't I just live here?
Yes.
You know?
Yes. That finally got us here too.
I was very blessed to be able to make a living here working at Penn State University. Mm-hmm. And I started my guide business in 2008 after I retired.
Uh-huh.
And fishing it takes you to some of the most beautiful places on the planet.
And you don't just fish here. I mean,
Oh, no.
Yeah, because when I initially contacted you, you were in Michigan.
Yeah, steelhead fishing.
Uh-huh.
Alaska, Maine, Nova Scotia,
And so you mentioned North Carolina. I never really thought of North Carolina as a fishing state.
false albacore.
Really?
Saltwater fishing.
Oh, okay.
Yes, out of Harker's Island.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's an interesting game as well.
All right.
Got to have a boat and things, so that's
a
that's
little more involved.
that's a fact.
So you've been fishing Penns Creek since the 70s. What's changed? What hasn't changed?
What's changed is the water quality has gotten better.
Really?
Yes,
That's encouraging.
it is, and I think largely through enlightened management, the Fish Commission, in terms of harvest. Now that doesn't have an effect on water quality, but certainly if you take fish from the stream, they're not there anymore.
Right.
These are wild brown trout, a very unique resource. What has changed is improvement in water quality, and largely due to PVCA efforts.
Conservation Association, yeah.
Absolutely. I was part of that, and still part of that for a long time.
We joined. We remember.
Yeah. I was water quality chair, board member, president, dishwasher, did all of that. Outstanding organization.
Yes.
And does a phenomenal job. The health of the stream is a reflection of the health of the land.
Okay.
So when you have degraded water quality, you look at what's going on the land. And,
I grew up in Lancaster County. I'm all too familiar with that.
Yeah, we have some challenges here.
But
Penns Creek in general has gotten most of the streams here have been placed under special regulations.
Okay.
All the ones with the wild brown trout are not stocked. The Class A streams.
Right.
And people appreciate that unique resource. Again, very few things in my life have gotten better except for the water quality in all the streams. The Youghiogheny River, where I fished and grew up. The Little Juniata River used to be a sewer when I got here. It's been a Clean Water Act.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, really.
Yeah,
the Mon River.
I've heard just doing this show, I've heard people talk about the Little Juniata in the same breath as Penns Creek.
And it's an outstanding fishery. It's incredible. Again, when I got here, it was literally a sewer. Paper mill effluent. It smelled.
Sure.
And through enlightened management and talking to landowners and seeing what the stream will do, stop stocking essentially. It has really come around. And now there's 18 miles of no kill on that water, and it's a mecca for anglers. I mean, it's incredible to see something getting better.
That's great.
I grew up along the Monongahela River,
Uh-huh.
little river town in southwestern Pennsylvania, coal country.
Yeah.
Used to be a sewer there too. You could almost walk across it. It was so bad. It's a recreational resource now. People from Pittsburgh coming up, parking their boats, partying for the weekend. It's an amazing fishery. Walleye, sauger, catch.
No kidding.
Oh yeah. Again, Clean Water Act.
Yeah.
And people paying attention to the fact that
Yes.
this is a resource that we need to value.
Yeah.
And I've seen it in my lifetime, and it's very gratifying
I'll bet.
see that.
I mean, even to have even a small part in it is.
I'm very honored to play a little part in this.
Yeah.
I don't have kids. My obligation is to make something better.
Yeah.
When I leave, hopefully something will be a little better than when I arrive. So
Sure sounds it.
kind of like
That's
that's
good.
what I'm working on anyway. So
Yeah, that's
keep
quite a
trying.
legacy. You mentioned you fish all across North America, catch a variety of fish. Are there common qualities that make a good fishing area, no matter what fish you're talking about?
Habitat.
Maintenance, and
Stream habitat. Again, the land health.
and
If
when you talk about land health, you're talking about farming and runoff, and not just farming.
right.
Any
Kind of discharge or how people treat their effluent, what they do with it.
Yeah.
Whether they respect the waterway. You have places in Alaska where people don't live, so naturally the water quality is not going to be very much impaired
Right.
there. Then you have an urban stream like Spring Creek, which has gotten better through the years. When I got here, we had some pollution problems, and it became a no-kill stream. The population rebounded, stopped stocking. Again, habitat.
Now, when you say no kill, can you explain that?
Catch and release.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're permitted
You're not
to
taking them
catch
out.
right.
Yeah.
You take them out, they're not there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's and I grew up again in southwestern Pennsylvania. The streams were marginal streams. They were stocked, and they were put in take fisheries.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. That's the way I grew up. My father and I fished. If you didn't bring 8 home, you just weren't quite the angler. The awareness and consciousness has changed somewhat since then. And the other side of the coin is there are plenty of streams here where you can harvest fish.
They are stocked.
Yeah. And they are to be taken. They're put in there for people to enjoy. And there's nothing I love to see more than that stretch from Coburn upstream to Spring Mills on opening day. with the kids,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and they're having a ball. They're falling in the water, and the parents are running around, and it's, you know, I was there. Believe me.
Yeah.
There are plenty of opportunities for if you want a few fish for the pen. You know, and when I'm camping, my wife and I do a lot of angling together and camping.
Mm-hmm.
We take a few for the skillet too. That's part of the experience. But you know, it's not take a couple dozen home, put them in the freezer, and throw them out in 6 months. You know. Because that's that. No.
I'm sure it happens.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
You know, but people are aware that these are unique resources, largely through education, you know, PVCA's efforts, Fish Commission's efforts.
I mean, Creek Fest is a big deal.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know, celebrating the watershed.
Yeah. The stocking. I mean, they only stock certain stretches of the stream. Do the stocked fish tend to stay there?
They do.
Really?
And even wild trout stay there.
Uh-huh.
There's no reason for them to move unless they're spawning and looking for, or the water gets warmer and they move to seek colder temperatures.
Okay.
You know, yeah, they pretty much stay put. Bob Bachman did a seminal study of trout behavior on Spruce Creek.
Okay.
There's a Penn State research section of that stream. It's about half a mile.
Spruce Creek is
South
southwest of here?
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe it's southwest. It's on Route 45 going
on
toward the town of Spruce Creek.
Okay.
He sat up in a tower along that section for 3 summers and watched fish
Wow.
and located their behavior via computer, put their behavior.
Sorry, he sounds like a biblical hermit sitting up in a tower watching fish.
He was a former submariner, Naval Academy graduate.
Okay.
He identified
little
these
focused.
fish by spot patterns.
Really?
Yeah. That's the way they used to identify, apparently, Soviet submarines, spot patterns. Dents in the hull or something, I guess.
Man.
That's the word I got from
So
Bob.
he's
Anyway.
he's like looking at them with binoculars?
Yep.
and- Wow.
Those same fish, if they were alive, they returned and they stayed at the same rock year after year after year, you know.
Huh. How long do they live?
4 or 5 years.
Okay.
They're not, maybe 6 years. You know, that's a pretty hard life out there.
Yeah.
It's not a Disney movie.
No. No.
You know, wild fish, and a wild fish, you know, migrating and coming back and forth, the rigors of spawning, just making it in a very difficult environment is hard on the fish.
And those damn fishermen.
Yeah, well, that's true. You know, yeah. When you put stocked fish in sections of stream with wild fish, now you have more competition for a limited food resource. And there's a lot of agonistic behavior going on.
Really?
The wild fish try to defend territory,
Okay.
and the introduced fish are trying to defend their piece. You know, so it's not helpful.
Wow.
You know, and the Fish Commission has realized that, and they've slowly
That's an evolving
changed their
process?
It is.
Okay.
They still stock over some wild sections, some
Yeah.
places, and would like to see them. We trout unlimited anglers, conservation people would like to see them discontinue that practice, but it's a slow process. You know, I mean, there's social considerations too.
Okay.
You know, it's not just. I know their motto is resource first, and that's very commendable. But there are also social considerations. License sales being one of them.
Sure.
I mean, you know, they're funded
And
through license sales.
That's what I was going to say. The license sales, I assume, drive that whole.
That's it.
Yeah.
They don't get any money from the state tax money.
Yeah.
They get federal money from the Dingle Johnson Fund and the Wallet Bureau Fund, which is excise taxes on sporting good equipment.
Okay.
And that's allocated based on a portion of license sales, population, miles of stream. I don't know, you know, lunar phases. I don't know what. But there is a formula to allocate that excise tax on fuel and equipment. And
The guys I talked to Logan and Blaine, young guys down at
Featherhook, yeah.
And they mentioned something that I hadn't really thought about. We talk about Penns Creek, we talk about Spring Creek, Little Juniata, but they said, I mean, essentially you go up into any of these small streams feeding into them, and there's brown trout there.
yeah.
So is that, I mean, do people just not know that, or did I not know that?
Well, there are wild fish of some sort, either brown trout in the lower reaches of those second
Feeder
order
streams?
streams. Yeah. And up in the higher reaches in the first order stream, there are brook trout everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Brook trout used to be the fish here. until the logging episodes happened, and all these hills were clear cut.
Yeah.
All the sediment washed into the creek. It warmed. The fish died. And then people decided we need to do something about this, and brown trout were introduced. They are not a native fish. But
I didn't realize that. Okay.
no, they're and even trout.
Like not native North America or not native Central Pennsylvania?
They're native. They're not native to. There's two. They're not native to North America.
Really?
There's two general strains: the
Okay.
Loch Levin strain from Scotland and the Von Behr strain from Germany.
Wow.
And they were all brought over and
Wow, that's a
disseminated.
Yeah.
And there's another interesting story about the rainbow trout.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most ubiquitously distributed trout in the world.
That's the one they stock?
They stock browns as
Okay.
well, but the original strain was from the McCloud River in California, just one place, and now it's all over the world.
Wow. Wow.
There's a book called An Entirely Synthetic Fish. It's about the dissemination of rainbow trout.
That's amazing.
Everywhere that people went, English colonists in particular,
Uh-huh.
the rainbow trout went, and it's all over. It's a fascinating read.
Uh-huh.
This book is a popular read, but it's the gentleman is a science writer, the author, and I forget the guy's name,
Yeah.
but it's well done.
Okay.
And it's an incredible story. I didn't know about it until I read this, and
Once I started thinking about, for this episode, the effects that fishing has on the greater world, it's almost like it's completely under the surface and you don't think about it. And then I think about the money that's been invested in the water treatment plant here in Millheim.
Mm-hmm.
I think about the Johnstown flood. I mean,
Yeah.
that was all about a fishing.
yeah, the robber barons from Pittsburgh,
Right.
the Carnegies had their summer place. I mean, let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more. The connection between fishing and conservation. So it funds the Fish and Boating Commission.
Fish and Boat Commission, yes.
Okay. All right. Game is a separate.
Yes, they're
department.
separate entities.
Okay.
Both funded by license sales, not state monies,
Right.
which is a very unique situation.
So the people who are getting the license are directly funding
Yes.
that whole operation.
Yes.
And part of their mission is habitat
Management,
preservation management.
Management,
Management's a good word. Okay.
preservation, education, the Fish and Boat Commission, and I'm not sure about the Game Commission, but I know the Fish Commission has an outstanding program for new anglers, women anglers. The idea is to educate people into having fun. It's a family sport. I mean, I remember going out with my dad. Very fond memories of my father and I fishing together. And
I got to say the looks on the faces of the people on your website that have that fish in their hands, they're just they're glowing.
oh yeah, and people don't realize. Well, they recognize that fishing is a very relaxing sport in some ways. People get kind of cranked up when they don't catch fish. And, I do that too sometimes. I get very frustrated.
Not a good day.
It happens. Well, it's a better day than working out there.
There you go.
But when they come here, they discover something that they had no idea was around. Have clients from Ohio, all over the place. They come and say, well, it's only 4 hours from my house. I'm thinking, well, it's 20 minutes from me. That's why I live here.
Yeah.
I don't have too far to go. I don't drive to the Little J because it's 40 minutes. Or 40. Penns Creek is 20.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm spoiled, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But it's an amazing area, and I like to share that because if you don't have patrons for a river or a stream, you're going to lose
It's neglected. Yeah.
and we need all the patrons we can get. There's constant pressures to develop land, to grow, to expand.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with growing, but I mean, there is a limit to things, you know?
Yeah.
So, and it's again, you can do it when you're much older. You don't have to wade in the raging cataract of fish. You can sit on the bank.
Yes.
And, I have some anglers I'll be guiding upcoming. They don't wade.
Okay.
We'll be, fishing
From the bank.
Fisherman's Paradise.
Oh,
no
sure.
wade there,
Okay.
And they're good
That
anglers.
whole area is designated.
Yes, a mile and a half fly
okay.
fishing only, no wading.
Wow.
And it's
okay.
a very unique area. That
Yeah.
is, it's a consuming sport for me because, if you want to look at the literature, I mean, it's a really rich.
It really is.
Not only Joe and I went fishing stories, but the how-to, the conservation. I mean, there's just a plethora of literature that talks about some aspect of the sport.
Some very good writing involved.
Oh, one of the best is Harry Middleton's book, The Earth is Enough.
Oh, not familiar with it. I'll find that.
Middleton wrote a series of books on the Spine of Time, In That Bright Country, Starlight Creek Angling Society. It was about his experiences. It's I call it delicious prose, the best of which I think is The Earth is Enough.
Fishing guiding. Say I hire you for a day.
Okay.
What are we going to do?
Well, that depends on your skill level.
Okay.
I try to match the client with the water and the skill level. And I like new anglers. I mean, newbie. I just had a group out.
That would be me.
You're a blank slate. There's no bad habits. I like
true.
that.
Okay.
They were wonderful. I had 3 anglers. We did half day, and there was a couple, husband and wife, and their friend. And, of course, Bonnie caught the fish.
Of course.
It always happens. Okay, look, she's going to catch the fish. Okay. Just telling you guys.
As long as you know that's going in, it'll be better.
Yeah, they loved it. It was great. She was, again, so proud that she caught some fish. And so I would take you to, depending on your wading abilities and what you want to do, design the trip based on your goals and things. And I try to teach people techniques when we are on the water. That's the best place to learn. The best classroom is on the water.
Yeah.
And I would provide equipment and instruction and wading gear, wading staff, and tell you about the need for chest waders and felt soles and spikes in your boots, and especially for fishing Penns Creek, because it's
felt soles. I've seen people mention that. What does that mean?
It's a woven material that's on the bottom of the rubber. So it's
on the outside.
Yes, it's attached to the boot itself, and you can put metal little spikes in there, and it really helps your purchase. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, again, Penns Creek is a slippery creek.
Yeah, I've waded out into,
Yeah,
that's not fun.
Not unless you have a staff, and you need all the help you can get.
Yes. Yes.
So we would, I would ask you about what you like, the kind of water you like to fish, where, if you're a neophyte, we'd usually start swinging wet flies.
Okay.
That's an easy thing to do. It's something that a lot of very skilled anglers don't do. It's a very old way to fish. And it was practiced, was brought over here from England, which is where our fly fishing traditions came from originally. Okay. And it's practiced way before guys floated their feathers and fished dry flies,
Yeah.
It's very effective.
Okay.
It can be I've been fishing wet flies. In fact, I'm leaving after our interview to hit the creek. It's the busman's holiday here.
There you go. I'm happy I could help with that.
I appreciate that. Otherwise, I'd have to do some useful work at home. We have 7 acres and a pond at home I maintain.
Oh.
We have, it's part of a conservation easement program. We plant trees. My wife and I fish. She's an accomplished angler as well.
Okay.
And Tammy's also part of the Central Pennsylvania Women Anglers Group.
Really?
Which is a group that mentors women anglers. In fact, we're going out. I have 12 ladies out Sunday, spending the afternoon on Penns Creek.
Great. Yeah, Blaine and Logan mentioned that they see more women every year.
That's great because they are the largest group of people that we need to recruit for conservation, and they teach their kids, and women do very well at angling. Mm-hmm. Fly angling is not about power and it's about precision and timing. You don't need to be a very strong individual to cast a fly. Again, precision and timing.
Right. Yeah, you're not throwing a rock.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
And the harder you try, the worse it gets sometimes. Believe me. But it's nice to see more of anyone out there. I don't see a lot of younger people out there, and it's rather disturbing to me. I love father, son, mother, combinations when I get out there, because it just delights me to see younger people doing that. Yeah. And I don't see much of that, unfortunately. I wonder who's going to take our place. You know,
Yep.
I don't know.
What's the hardest thing for people to master? Is it the patience? Is it reading the water?
Patience, certain techniques, nymph fishing, which is a subsurface technique. It's the bread and butter technique. You want to catch fish here or anywhere consistently. Learn how to do that.
Huh.
You can't see what's going on under the water.
Yeah.
You know, dry fly fishing, you have a fly
Right there.
floating on us. You can see a fish come up and eat it. You know, again, timing, you don't want to pull it out of their mouth, and I've never done that, so you just don't eat that. Subsurface fishing, but again,
Okay.
patience and realizing when you go out there, there's no guarantee you're going to catch fish.
Yeah.
It's you know, depending on your skill level and literally water conditions. I don't know what makes fish bite. If I did, I would be a very wealthy man.
Wow.
I don't,
Okay.
you know, and I can tell you where to stand, what to use, but I can't make them bite, you know.
Yeah.
I know what's going on in the creek. I know what insects are active. The fly fishing is about mimicking some of the insects that are active or at least live there in that habitat. And you try to entice the fish to eat what you're presenting. Some of those things don't look anything like what lives there, but fish eat them. And it's a lesson I learned a long time ago. It's presentation over pattern 95% of the
Really?
time.
Okay.
I was surprised at that. And I've been told this by a number of, now, I mean, all other things being equal.
Sure.
If it looks like food, they're going to eat it. They eat all kinds of weird stuff that isn't food, or they spit it out very quickly. But, you know, you present it to them, and fish are binary. Trout, food, not food. If it's food, they eat it. If it's not food, they spit it out. You got to fool them in that interim when they're deciding. That's basic, and that's a hard, you know.
Yeah.
Reflexes can be, they're
Oh,
quick,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. But the bread and butter technique, as I said, is some variation on nymph fishing.
Wow.
And that's hard to do because you don't see what's going on,
Yeah.
you know. And
Yeah.
it becomes instinctual after a while, or instinctive, I guess, maybe I should say. You learn. You learn what that thing is doing. There are some
Tom, you make it almost sound zen. It's like you
wet fly fishing, not
It sounds that
nymph,
way, yeah.
across and down, and let it swing. And it is very zen-like. And when I'm fishing, or when I'm out with clients, they say, well, why aren't you fishing? Well, when I'm fishing, I'm concentrating on what I'm doing. And that means I'm not concentrating on what you're paying me to do.
Yeah.
You know, and so it ruins both our days. And so, I mean, I can't fish, and you're not getting what you pay for.
Yeah,
And when I will demonstrate
Uh-huh.
techniques and things, and you know, sometimes when people are trying real hard and they say, well, show me, and then you catch they feel bad, you know. I mean, I don't
yeah.
want to do that to people, you know. It's supposed to be fun,
Yeah.
you know, and I've had a lot more experience than, I'm not bragging, but many people, they just don't have the time on the water.
Yeah. And I mean, on those specific waters.
Yeah. And again, it's reflex, and they don't have that sense developed quite yet. They'll get there. Again, it's practice. It's the same way you get to Carnegie Hall. You know, you practice.
Yeah.
You know.
So when you do get an experienced angler, I mean, they're looking for where to fish, or
where to sometimes what patterns to use.
Okay.
You know, they've never seen this part of the stream before. They want to learn access. I show them the techniques that I know, and I learn from my clients as well.
Okay.
It's a two-way street. I don't know it all, don't profess to know it all.
Uh-huh.
I learn things from clients, and I like, my business was learning at one time as a scientist, you know, finding out new things. And there's always something to learn in fly fishing, something new. That's one of the things that is so attractive about the sport to me, is learning. Always something, and it's always going to be that way, I think. It's always going to be something new. The young guys that you spoke with, now I don't know those fellows very well. I know Tess, I know Matt, the younger guys, and they're amazing anglers. I mean, they're just, you know.
Kind of what they said about Tess, too.
Oh, yeah, well, they're all very good,
Yeah.
you know. It's amazing. And they're out there a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't take it quite that seriously anymore, you know. Taking it a step back, the idea is to have fun.
Right.
You know, you're out there, and I tell clients when we're out there, Pope Patty or somewhere, and they're not catching fish, that's kind of frustrating. You know, they're trying very hard, but I say, stop a minute.
Look around.
Look around.
Yeah.
Look at where we are. Look at the bald eagle. Look at what's going on in the creek.
Listen
Look
to that ripple.
Yeah, just sit down for a few minutes and think about what's going on here, and take a break, and we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
When we're out all day usually. I mean, a full day is daylight to dark. Well, not quite daylight, but to dark. Especially
Right.
this time of year when you have insects emerging and spinner falls. I'm out late.
Yeah.
And that's a fun time. And I love nothing more than watching someone catch fish. I wondered when I first started doing this, before I started my business, if I was going to be able to stand around all day and watch somebody else catch fish. And I started guiding for Alan Bright down at Spruce Creek.
Okay.
At the working for him just to see if could I really do this.
Sure.
And I really enjoyed it. And I've met people from all over the world. It's amazing. They usually related to some sort of Penn State activity.
Sure.
And England, Spain, Italy, Denmark.
Wow.
One fellow was a headmaster at an academy outside of London. His daughter was an exchange student here, and I couldn't get him off Spring Creek. He didn't even want to come down to eat. I said, "Look, I'll bring lunch up. You just stay here. I can't net your fish. I'll go get some lunch. You just stay here." And he couldn't afford to fish trout waters over there too many times because they're private. It costs something.
Yeah.
This guy's a principal, a headmaster.
Right.
So he, was, I'm sure, made a good living.
Yeah.
But couldn't fish for trout here. One of the German clients I had said, "Well, where do we fish?" And I said, "Well, where would you like to fish? We have 4,700 miles of trout stream here. I suggest we start over the hill in Spring Creek." He was just amazed at the access.
The access, exactly.
Most of it's public.
Yeah.
And that is something that's such a blessing, at least in this state. Other states, access is very different.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, we were just remarking on it the other day. I was driving along Penn Street with a friend. People just pull a car over and get out their rod and have at it.
I like to tell folks, I used to do shows and things. I'm scaling back on that now. I got enough clients that
Sure.
I tell them within 40 minutes of State College, you have over 65 miles of limestone streams that are open to the public. Year-round fishing, catch and release, lots of insect activity. I mean, if you're a fly angler, this is a playground. This is a place to be because, again, that's why I moved here.
Yeah.
I want this out the back door. And, again, my obligation is to make it a little better,
Right.
at least
Pass it
make
on.
it healthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I've contributed in some small way to do that, and that pleases me. And I have a vested interest in doing that because I like to fish.
Sure. That's how it works best.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
It is. And I just have wonderful clients. Some of them are a bit challenging, but that's personality. And I think to be a guide and be effective, you don't have to be a top-notch fisherman in some ways. So you have to be able to relate to their skill level. And, being a good angler helps, certainly.
Sure.
I mean, your experiences, you try to transfer some of that knowledge to the client.
Right.
But you don't have to be a tournament fisherman. You have to understand people. You have to know the water. You have to be able to teach.
Yes.
Which is what I used to do for a living in some ways. And I sublimate being in the classroom and laboratory for being on the water.
Yeah.
The view from the office is much better.
Yes.
And the commute to work is not real shabby either,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
the whole thing, the feel, the smell, the sound.
It's immersion, you're just in it. And that's why I prefer stream fishing. I've lake fish sometimes, but I like to be in the water.
Yeah.
I like to having that water run around me and
thing.
it just washes all that craziness away and all the stress just goes.
Yeah.
It feels good to be in the water. I like that. And
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your interest. Thank you for your support, PBCA, and
Oh, yeah.
It's fun. And if you ever want to go fishing, let's go.
Okay.
When it's not fun anymore, I'm going to stop. So, and it's still been fun. So yeah, it has been fun. And I love the sport, and I'm very passionate about this, as you can see. It's just what I do.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
I hope I've answered some of your questions.
Oh, yeah.
So,
No, Tom, this has been great. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, sir. Anytime.
Thanks.
And again, we can get out on the water if you want to do that. That's
okay.
fine.
No, we've talked about it.
Yeah, I leave a lot of space in the schedule now.
Okay.
For my activities,
Okay.
my fishing. And,
Yeah.
and I want to do that. So, anytime I can get you out on the water, come on, we'll do that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Appreciate all you do.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. As I told you, I don't fish. Yet, since Tom seems ready to get me started. Anyway, it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the idea. I don't hunt either, but it's always a good time hanging out at hunting camps. I got 2 invites to opening day parties this year, which I didn't even know was a thing. Both of them were at friends' homes that are right along Penns Creek Road across from the creek. As I drove down from Millheim around 3:30 Saturday afternoon, I saw more folks fishing the creek than usual, but not the crowds I'd heard about. People hit it pretty early and then call it a day, I guess. The first party was pretty low-key. About a dozen or so folks sitting around the house, talking, drinking, having snacks, drinking, listening to music, and drinking. Mind you, they'd been at this since 8 a.m. I set down a full 100-proof bottle of Bluebird Distilling's new Towny bourbon on the kitchen table. It lasted maybe half an hour. Yeah, we had cheese, cookies, and some venison someone had slow roasted and brought over, which was just delicious, tender and tasty, rolled in pepper and garlic. Did we do anything related to fishing? Well, the host showed me his fly tying setup in the basement, and then his dad's collection of stone arrow and spearheads, which was extensive. Back in the day, maybe 60 years ago, they were still pretty plentiful in the fields of central PA. His dad just kept his eyes open. There was a ceremonial showing of the megaphone used to holler at anglers who hog up fishing space, familiar to everyone who lives along the creek. Then my friend Jerry and I decided to move along to the next party, about half a mile up the creek. If the first party was cozy, this one sprawled. The property is quite a bit wider on the creek side of the road, with a barn, a drive, and a broad grassland along the water. I met friends on the side of the road who directed me to the spread in the barn. Wow, there were 3 different beers on draft. Bottles of wine and liquor, soft drinks, snacks, and a full-on barbecue spread with brisket, ribs, and burnt ends. I grabbed a glass of stout that turned out to be a good one. I think it might have been Lindgren's Collapsed in the Corner, but I'm not sure. And I headed down to the creek. There were probably 40 people gathered around 3 pop-up tents and a few parked pickups. The host waved a lazy hand in greeting and gestured to tables full of desserts. There were a few people fishing, but mostly we were talking and drinking and talking about drinking and fishing. I won't lie, it would have been really easy to settle back for a few hours and call Kathy for a ride, but I stuck to that one beer and headed back home. Opening day parties are a good thing about living in Troutland. I like the riparian life. Living up on the hill's not bad either. I do want to add one more plug for a fishing lodge, and this is one I've actually stayed at, Coburn by the Creek, owned by our friends Craig and Maria. We won a weekend there in a raffle at Elk Creek Cafe a couple years ago and had a great time, a whole mile from our house. There's a full kitchen, a grill, real plumbing, and comfy chairs, with a nice assortment of books, too. The lodge sits about 20 yards from Pine Creek, just upstream from where it empties into Penns Creek. You can fish right there, and the waters are full of trout. I've seen them leaping out of the water to grab flies. When the fishing is done, you can sit down by the creek in a grassy little area with table and chairs and overhead lanterns, what Craig calls the Riffles Lounge, and you'll enjoy yourself immensely. Not a paid endorsement, I just thought you'd like to know about it. About that contest, maybe I wasn't clear last time, or I don't know, maybe you guys stop listening when you hear that outro music. You shouldn't, There's some fun stuff at the end, and I talk about the next episode when I know what it is. So let me reintroduce this contest. Central Pennsylvania has a full menu of regional favorite foods. Shoe fly pie, scrapple, red beet eggs, chow chow, marshmallow peeps, whoopie pies, chicken pot pie, and yes, ham pot pie. Our own gravy-covered version of chicken and waffles, tea-berry ice cream, birch beer, Lebanon bologna, hog maw, funnel cakes, cup cheese, and I still say that Texas hot dog originated in Kane. One of these days, I'm going to prove it to you. Then here's the contest. First, if I missed some Central PA foods, and I'm sure I have, like I just remembered I didn't mention the Mallow Cup, let me know. And not one place's scrapple or that place's hot dog. We're just going general, okay? Second, and this is the one that really interests me, which one of those foods do you want me to do an episode on? Which one makes a good story? Which one can you think of a good person to interview for? That's your assignment. Tell me what I missed on that list of Central PA foods, and tell me which one you want an episode about. Send me a note at the podcast email, seenthroughaGlass@gmail.com, or message me through the Facebook or Instagram pages. Whoever makes the winning suggestion on which food to do for an episode will get thanked on that episode and receive a 5-pack of podcast stickers. Then I'll do a random drawing from everyone who sent in a food for the list or a suggestion for another 5-pack of stickers. Which reminds me, I got to get to work on more merch. Now, here comes that outro music, and this time, keep listening. That's the show. My thanks to Logan and Blaine for the interview, and my thanks to Tom Doman for a very enjoyable time talking. And my thanks to my hosts of the two parties. I'm sure you know who you are. You can find pictures for this episode on Instagram at Stag Podcast and on Facebook at Seen Through a Glass. If you're listening to the show on the radio at WSOV, there are over 50 more episodes to enjoy on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Podbean, really all the popular podcast outlets. If you'd like to toss a bit in my hat to keep the show going, I have a coffee button in my Instagram link tree. That's at Stag Podcast and at the Facebook page. Here's a few trout tidbits for you. Trout spend about 80% of their time eating, so I guess it's not that hard to get them to take a bite of something. They will see it coming, though. They're able to focus on different targets with each eye and effectively have a 360-degree field of vision. Trout are close cousins to salmon and have been observed breeding with Atlantic salmon, but not the Pennsylvania native brook trout. Unlike the introduced trout in Pennsylvania streams, the brookie is a member of the char family, not a salmonid. A little different, and that's the way, we like it. What's coming up? Well, I've still got some interviews in the tank, and there's another one percolating, so we'll have to see how all that works out, depending on what else comes up. But I'll promise you this, it won't be about fish. Until then, thanks for listening. This is Lou Bryson with Seen Through a Glass from the smack dab center of the Keystone State.